You decided you're going to Baja with your van. It's gonna be awesome. It truly will be awesome. But before going to Mexico, there's a few things you need to know just to enter the country. Because believe it or not, crossing the border to Mexico is a bit more confusing than crossing to the United States or crossing to Canada. You first need a lot of paperwork or some paperwork done, and you need to be aware of the crossing protocols. So stay until the end of the video because I'm gonna share one mistake that a lot of my friends did regarding their paperwork. I'm also gonna share the way we figured out to get into Mexico faster and easier than anyone else. So let's go. The catastrophe is just around the corner if you don't have those papers or this paperwork on you at all times. We're gonna go through it in the next few seconds starting now, ending with the one that get most people I know in trouble. So first, your passport. Your passport needs to be in order, and I would strongly recommend having your passport up to date and not too close to your expiration date, because if police officers or military personnel ends up opening your passport and sees that your expiration is in a couple of weeks, they're not gonna like it. The second document that you need is your vehicle registration. You'd say, yeah, I always have it, but make sure you have the original document. When I crossed the border at Tecate, I had a photocopy of it, and they did not like it because they thought I could have stolen the vehicle. So they had to call in the managers, they had to call in the officers to surround the truck. At some point, I think there were 5 or 6 military personnel around my van with the manager scanning my paper, and I had to translate everything to Spanish for her because she was just wondering where the heck was the original piece of paper. So make sure you have your vehicle registration on you. Ideally, it's the original piece of paper because they want to verify you're the actual owner. So second, after the passport, your vehicle registration. Third is your driver's license. My driver's license also got me in trouble because it is destroyed. Accidentally, I rolled on it and it was in 2 pieces. The officers were like, what the hell's going on with your paperwork? They were not super happy. It's a chance I was able to talk to them in Spanish because at some point they were like, okay, we're just gonna have to figure it out because the photocopies are kind of sketchy and the guy has a broken driver's license in half that he just taped to show it to us. So make sure you have a proper driver's license and make sure it's not split in half. The fourth document that you need is your auto insurance. Canadian and American, maybe I'm wrong for the United States, but Canadian auto insurance do not cover the Mexican territory. And I'm pretty sure the US insurance, the car insurance in the US do not as well, because it's pretty much clear when you enter Mexico that they want to see Mexican insurance. And they asked for it, and they said, where is your Mexican insurance? And this is okay to be photocopied because you have to buy it online, and I don't think you have the choice. So we went with Baja bound. I think we opted for the 90 days insurance. It was around $700. I heard that was quite expensive when I compared it to other friends who bought cheaper insurance, or maybe it's just because my van is a bit bigger. When you get on Baja bound for your your Mexican car insurance, they're going to ask you a couple of questions. The most important question that they ask you is the value of your vehicle. Mine was above $100,000, so I had to pay full price for a 90 days in Mexico. So make sure you have Mexican car insurance because you are not insured on the Mexican territory. I don't know the reasons behind that, but make sure you buy car insurance. If you're going to the mainland, you're gonna need your importation paperwork for your vehicle because they consider Baja as another territory. If you're going to the mainland, you're gonna need what they call, I'm gonna read, Temporary Vehicle Import Permit, TIP, only if you're traveling to the mainland. So make sure you get this if you're traveling somewhere else farther south. Another piece of paperwork that you need if you have pets is the pet documents. So they're gonna want to see all the vaccination proofs, all the information on your dogs or your cats. I have no pets, so I'm not an expert in pets. So make sure you have the paperwork for your pet. And the last but not least piece of document that you need to enter the Mexican territory without problems is the Forma Migratoria Multiple, or the FMM. This is to authorize people like you to enter the territory as a tourist. And most of my friends who got in trouble was because this form was not on them, or this form was not filled out properly. And if you get to a military checkpoint, they can go ballistic on you. Like, you are not allowed to be there, and they can do pretty much what they want with you and with your vehicle. So make sure you have that form filled out properly and on you at all times when you cross the border. And the border crossing can be very sketchy, especially regarding that form. So let's talk about that now. So the second thing you need to know is the border crossing protocol. In Canada, when you want to get in the United States, you get in line. The border officers are asking you a couple of questions. They're looking at your passport, your immigration forms, your I-94, your visas, etc. They say everything's good and you go. Everything's in a single line. You know when to go, you know when to stop. You have signs, etc. Crossing to Mexico is a bit more confusing. I would say a lot more confusing. The first thing that you can do to make your life much easier is not cross in Tijuana. We didn't cross in Tijuana because Mexican friends told us not to, and Canadian friends that were in Mexico told us not to because it was a complete shit show. Multiple lines of vehicles going cross sides like this, agents not stopping your vehicle, you not knowing where to go to get your paperwork done, not knowing where to pay, not knowing who to talk to. So the first tip I would give you when you cross the border is choose a small border station. The border station that we use to cross is in Tecate. Super small town, only 2 ways. One in, one out. And I actually asked ChatGPT, how do we cross the Mexican border of Tecate without getting in trouble? And it was, I thought the answer would have been very easy. It was not. The protocol to get in without trouble was kind of complex. So listen to me here. The first step was to park your car before the border, somewhere around the mall. That they said they have an exterior mall there. Just park your car at the mall. Second step, walk to the border by foot and enter on the right building. Enter in the right building. Present your passport, and they're gonna ask you to fill out this FMM form. You fill out this FMM form, and I was like, oh, well, that's rather easy. Nope, you have to pay for it. So before they hand you the FMM form, you have to cross the street to the bank to pay the bank for the FMM form. And then you go back to the border officer and you give him the money and the paper that the bank gave you. They give you the FMM form, and then we made a mistake. We walked back to our vehicle and they said, no, you have to enter Mexico now. So we walked in Mexico. Funny thing is I had to poo real bad, so I went to the washroom in Mexico to do a number 2. Then we walked back to the United States with our FMM and our passport. And then we got the car and drove back with the FMM, the passport, the driver's license, the car insurance, the vehicle's registration, and everything I just mentioned in the previous chapter, and I gave that to all the officers that were there. Don't be surprised. The army is on the border at all times, in Tecate at least. So when people are talking to you with their, paperwork in their Spanish language, they're going to be surrounded by officers with very large guns. But don't be scared. Don't be worried about that. Mexico have their ways of managing their homeland security, and the army is very involved in those protocols. So it's nothing to be worried about. It's just the border crossing is going to be your first encounter with heavy armed forces. I'm letting you know. Next week's video is going to be about driving and traveling on the Baja Peninsula, including tips and tricks with military checkpoints, security on the road, and camp spots. So stay tuned. I hope I see you next week, and have a good Sunday.